College Football Playoff Committee could be in a tough spot come late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Looking at this Florida State football team, undefeated record that should hold if the odds say so as they go into an ACC championship game matchup against Louisville, but without their starting quarterback, looking very vulnerable in recent weeks and really not having the metrics overall to back up a college football playoff bid. Taking on Louisville in the ACC championship. Got Steve Merrill stopping by, of course, from Wager Talk TV. It's right here on YouTube. WagerTalk.com, folks, is the place to be to catch all of Steve's work. ACC championship game, you got to think if Florida State wins this game, Steve, that regardless of what the metrics say, the quarterback situation, that's going to wrap up a college football playoff appearance. And Louisville's a team that's got nothing to lose. They want to win the ACC.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way the college basketball committee works is they do take into account, at least they've always said, the makeup of a team when they win or lose early, if they have a star player out, and even late in the season when a star player is out, they analyze that team as the current team is. And obviously basketball, one or two guys can be the entire team. So a star player in basketball is worth more than any other sport other than maybe a pitcher in baseball or a goaltender in hockey. But you can make the argument that the quarterback in football is pretty close. I mean, that's the pitcher, that's the goaltender. So it will be very interesting to see what they say, if they say, how they're analyzing this. And it kind of gives them a little bit of an out as well, because I don't think even healthy with Jordan Travis in there that Florida State is one of the four best teams. I just don't feel that way. Oregon, we'll see if they win on Friday night against Washington. I feel they've been a top four team all season. As a 9.5-point favorite, they should win that game. Obviously, Michigan. I think Ohio State is definitely better than Florida State. That's the team that's going to really kind of get screwed over, in my opinion, if they don't make it and Florida State does. But you also can make the argument Texas is, if they win, as a 2-touchdown favorite against Oklahoma State. And, of course, if Bama pulls the upset against Georgia, they've got a pretty good argument as well. So it's interesting, but it normally does seem to solve itself. At most, we always seem to end up with 5 teams for the 4 spots. And I think the Pac-12 obviously solves itself because the winner of the Oregon-Washington game is in, the loser's out. No debate anymore. And this one might help solve itself as well, especially with Louisville picking up that second loss last week against Kentucky. Otherwise, they're a one-loss team that's in the discussion. So if Florida State drops this game, and by the way, as a 2.5-point favorite, they have about a 55% chance of winning straight up. So there's a 45% chance Louisville wins this game. So it very well might fix itself and make things a little bit easier for the committee. And I think how the quarterback plays in this game makes a difference as well. If they win convincingly, really good numbers, I do think that's something you have to take into account. My database simulation doesn't really account for injuries. I do that separately. Has Florida State winning by 3.5 on average. So you got to figure if you downgrade the quarterback position here, it'd be even less. And last week, 12 for 25 passing, just 48% completions, only 5.5 yards per pass attempt for Roadmakers. So that was not a good showing against a decent Florida defense, not a great pass defense. Louisville's been average against the pass. Where Louisville's been strong this year is against the run. And that's probably bad news because Florida State, I'm sure, would like to establish the ground game more. So it's not a bad matchup for Louisville this week. And once again, my simulation does show a little bit of value, but that would be at full strength. Tough game to handicap with the uncertainty at quarterback. But history's any indication, Florida State probably goes down, and this makes things a little bit easier for the committee.
Steve, you mentioned how the NCAA basketball committee handles injuries. And we have only one precedent for this during the college football playoff era. 2014, the very first playoff, Ohio State loses J.T. Barrett at quarterback right at the end of the regular season, last quarter against Michigan. And the committee basically was pretty upfront at that point for all the things that maybe they haven't been upfront about and said their backup quarterback, their third stringer, has an audition. It's against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, and we are taking injuries into consideration. Well, boom, 59 zip, and the rest is history. They march on to a national championship. And here we are 9 years later. Jordan Travis, roughly a top 5 quarterback in college football, goes down. His replacement against, like you said, a marginal Florida defense against a 5-7 football team looks very pedestrian. They get outplayed in the first half. They struggle back, and they lay down the hammer in the fourth quarter, but still an unimpressive win. So they have one more audition to show what kind of team they can be with a backup quarterback in play.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, when Roadmaker was thrown into the fire with the injury a couple weeks ago, that was against North Alabama, and he put up big numbers in that game, but that's not even a 1A team. So I think you're right. This is the audition, and Cardale Jones obviously turned out to be a good quarterback, and it worked out for Ohio State there. But not only does he get an audition here against a decent Louisville team, but he has to overcome a bad showing last week. So you almost make the argument he's got to play twice as good now, at least in my eyes. So will be very interesting, but I think Florida State will. I mean, first of all, there's a 45% chance they lose, so they're going to be on the outside anyway. But they're going to have to win impressively, which is even less likely. I think Florida State probably is on the outside, but the problem is leaving a major 5-conference team undefeated out. This just doesn't seem to be the way the committee works, even though I think that's how it should play out.
Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com. Catch his work right there. It's a money management system that will help you guide the selections as well. The NBA, college basketball, and the NFL included this time of year. Steve, we appreciate your work.